Hold up one of your hands right now. Really look at it. Curl your fingers, spread them, touch your thumb to each fingertip in sequence. You do this thousands of times a day without thinking, and you've done it your entire life. But what you're looking at is one of the most extraordinary objects in the natural world. Your hand contains 27 bones, 29 major joints, 34 muscles, and over 17,000 touch receptors, more than almost any other surface on your body. It is the most precise gripping instrument that has ever evolved on this planet. And here's the disturbing part. It wasn't built for anything you're using it for. The keyboard you type on, the phone you scroll through, the steering wheel you grip, the fork you hold. None of these things are what your hand was designed to do. Your hand was built for an environment that you have probably never spent more than a few minutes inside in your entire life. And once you understand what that environment was, you'll never look at your hands the same way again. Let's start with something every parent eventually notices, but almost nobody understands. When a newborn baby is born, you can place your finger across their tiny palm, and they will grip it. They will grip it harder than seems possible. A human newborn, less than a day old, with eyes that can barely focus and a brain that doesn't yet recognize its own mother, can grip with such intensity that the baby can support its entire body weight from a single finger. Studies have measured the strength of this reflex, and the numbers are absurd. A newborn human can hold up to 2.5 times its own body weight by gripping alone. Pediatricians have known about this for a century. They call it the Palmar grasp reflex. It appears around 16 weeks before the baby is even born, deep inside the womb. Babies grip in the dark before they have any concept of what they are gripping. And then, within 3 to 6 months after birth, the reflex completely disappears. It's gone before the baby has any voluntary control of its hands. So what is it for? What is the body of a newborn human, born into a world of cribs and soft blankets and human arms, urgently practicing for in the first months of life? It's practicing for a forest that no longer exists for it. For roughly 60 million years, the ancestors of modern humans lived in trees. Not as a hobby, not as a temporary phase, as their entire existence. Every primate species alive today still carries the echoes of this arboreal past, but most of them never left. Chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, gibbons, monkeys of every kind. They still live the way our shared ancestor lived, suspended above the ground, moving through a three-dimensional world of branches, climbing, hanging, swinging, gripping. And for those 60 million years, the single most important thing the body of a primate could do was not fall. Falling meant death. There were no second chances. A primate that lost its grip dropped sometimes 100 feet through the canopy and landed broken on the forest floor. The animals that survived to reproduce were the ones whose hands closed reflexively, automatically, ferociously, around anything they touched. That reflex is still inside you. It's the first thing your hands learned to do, before they did anything else. And here's the cruel irony. You probably have never once in your adult life put that reflex to its original use. In 2021, a team of researchers led by Thomas Cody Prang at Texas A&M University published a study in the journal Science Advances that reshaped how anthropologists think about the hand. By analyzing the fossil hand of Ardipithecus ramidus, a hominin that lived 4.4 million years ago, they showed that the immediate ancestors of humans still had hands optimized for suspensory climbing. The proportions of the bones, the curvature of the fingers, the way the joints were oriented, all of it pointed to a creature that spent significant time hanging from branches by its hands. We're not talking about a distant ancestor. Ardipithecus is essentially the doorway into our family tree. Whatever came before it was almost certainly more arboreal. Whatever came after, including us, inherited a body designed for a world it was about to leave. Your shoulders are mobile in a way that almost no other mammal's shoulders are, because your ancestors needed to reach in any direction to grab a branch. Your elbows can fully extend, because your ancestors needed to hang from one arm. Your fingers are long, curved at rest, and equipped with tendons that lock into a grip with minimal muscular effort, because your ancestors needed to hold on without burning energy for hours at a time. And your thumb, the famous opposable thumb that gets all the credit, evolved later as a refinement, but the underlying architecture was already there, already built for the trees. But here's where the story gets stranger. Your hand isn't just a leftover from a tree-dwelling past. It's a hybrid. Somewhere along the line, our ancestors did something no other primate had done. They started walking on two legs full-time, which freed the hands from locomotion entirely. And once the hands were free, evolution did something unprecedented. It kept the grip strength from the climbing era and added something new on top of it. A precision grip. The ability to bring the pad of the thumb against the pad of the index finger with extraordinary control. Chimpanzees, your closest living cousins, cannot do this the way you can. Their hands are still optimized for swinging through trees. Their thumbs are short, their fingers are long and curved, their grip is incredibly powerful, but imprecise. A chimpanzee is roughly 1.5 times stronger than a human in raw pulling and gripping force. But a chimpanzee cannot thread a needle. A chimpanzee cannot tie a knot. A chimpanzee cannot pick up a single grain of rice. You can. And here's the question almost nobody asks. What was that precision grip for? Because evolution doesn't build features for fun. Something specific drove its development. Something your ancestors did every single day for hundreds of thousands of years that required the most refined finger movements in the animal kingdom. The answer is so obvious that we've almost forgotten it. Your hand was built to make and use tools, to manipulate plant fibers, to knap stone, to sew with bone needles, to weave, to construct, to repair, to feel the texture of an animal hide, and know whether it had been properly tanned. Your hand was built for craft, for physical, repetitive, tactile, deliberate, lifelong craft. The kind of craft that your ancestors did from sunrise to sunset, every single day, for the entire history of our species. They were the only creatures on Earth whose lives were structured around making things with their hands. And then, somewhere in the last 2 centuries, that ended for most humans. The average modern person performs almost no significant manual craft in a typical day. You operate machines, you touch screens, you press buttons, you hold steering wheels and phones and forks. Your hands move constantly, but they almost never do the slow, complex, focused work they were designed for. The 17,000 touch receptors in your fingertips are receiving information about a flat piece of glass for hours every day. The fine motor control built over millions of years of stone tool making and basket weaving and clothing stitching is being used to swipe and tap. There's a reason so many people in the modern world report a vague sense of restlessness in their hands they cannot explain. A reason knitting, woodworking, pottery, gardening, and other tactile hobbies have surged in popularity in the last decade. Your hands know something your conscious mind has forgotten. They were built to make, and they almost never get to. This isn't just nostalgia. There's neurological evidence. The portion of your brain dedicated to processing input from your hands is disproportionately large. If you drew a map of your body based on how much neural real estate each part claims, your hands would be larger than your entire torso. Your face and your hands take up nearly half the sensory cortex. Your brain is structured as if your hands were the most important interface between you and the world, because for the entire history of our species, they were. We thought with our hands. We learned with our hands. We expressed care, intention, skill, and identity with our hands. And we have built a civilization that quietly cut those hands off from the things they evolved to do. Most of us will go our entire lives without ever using our hands the way our biology expects them to be used. We will never make a fire from raw materials with our hands. We will never shape a tool with our hands. We will never weave a basket, tan a hide, or knap a piece of flint with our hands. We will type, scroll, swipe, and click. And we will feel a low, restless ache in our fingers and never know what it's asking for. So the next time you find yourself idly picking up a smooth stone and turning it over in your fingers, or doodling absent-mindedly when you should be doing something else, or feeling that strange pull toward working with raw materials, pay attention. That isn't a hobby. That's not a personality trait. That's 60 million years of evolutionary memory leaking up through your fingertips. asking for something the modern world rarely lets you give it. Your hands were built for a forest you have never seen, and a workshop you no longer have, and a kind of focused making that your great-grandparents would have recognized instantly, and that you have probably never experienced for an entire day in your life. They were built for something you never do. And the strangest part is that they still try, every day. Every quiet moment when you reach for nothing in particular and just want to hold something real. If this made you look at your hands differently, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel reach the people who need to hear this. And I want to know in the comments, what's the last thing you made with your hands? Not bought, not assembled, but actually made from raw materials? Read the replies after you write yours, because some of them are going to remind you of something you've been missing for years. Subscribe if you want to keep hearing about the parts of being human that the modern world has quietly erased. The next one is going to stay with you longer than this one did.